Welcome back to Bonded by Bravo. I am your host, Amy, joined with my co-host, Jenna. I think I forgot to say that last week.
It's okay. I bet they know it's me.
I bet they do.
Actually, I think last week I almost started it.
Yeah, what was
last week?
Yeah, but it's weird. I think in the beginning, were we talking about something else and then we
I don't know.
That usually happens. We're like talking about something before we start recording with our producer and we're blah, blah, blabbing. And then he just hits the record button and we're still mid conversation. Like I was showing Jenna my new cabinet.
I know. It's very nice. I literally thought, where is she? She got a new house, new apartment.
Yeah. See, you couldn't even tell.
Doesn't it feel like that when you get something new in these like tiny apartments? Like we got a new cabinet. This was a while ago in our bed. This is such a tangent, but in our bathroom, and Kyle and I every day were like, oh my God, new apartment. We got a new bathroom. We redid it.
I got up because this is a desk that I usually work at, and I keep getting up and like staring at it and looking at it. And
or when, sorry,
No, I mean, I don't want to tell you that my husband had to stay home from work the last 2 days because he put it together and hurt his back. So I just had to send him to the bedroom so that he couldn't be a part of our chats. But yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna?
Or like when you rearrange something in your apartment and you're like, this actually doesn't work because the only way it works is the way that we had it.
Yeah.
But for the week, it's fine because I needed like a little change of scenery.
You'll understand this part. So I was away for work the last 2 days, and he's like, "All right, when you're away, I'm going to put the cabinet together." The cabinet. And I was like, "Cool, great." It's actually an Urban Outfitters knockoff.
Oh wow!
This one was only $400 on Amazon. Nice. Anywho, so he puts the cabinet and hurts his back Monday night, and I came home yesterday. Also, I just want to say this. My friend, shout out Saoirse, my friend, and I did this once with you before, told me that if you are on an airline and you go to let's say you're like, oh God, I'm at the airport. I'd love to get on an earlier flight. I'm here a little early. Can I get on the next flight? If you are on that airline, leaving from the same airport and going to the same airport, am I making sense? From the same airline? So like, let's say like I had to fly from Pittsburgh to LaGuardia yesterday, and there were 3 flights before mine. And I was like, I want to get the heck home. So I went to the airport early, went up to the counter and was like, hey, any chance you can get me on one of these flights? And if there's a seat, they'll charge you like $75 and you can just get on the earlier flight. It was heaven.
I thought you could I thought they should, if it was the same airline, that they just put you on standby and that it's no fee.
But then you have to be on standby. So I wasn't on like mine was like guaranteed. Yeah.
God, I see.
I'm not trying. Yeah, no. And plus I got to put it on the business. Anywho, what was I talking about? Oh, so he hurt his back. Yeah. And now I don't remember. Oh, this you'll appreciate. So I came home and he's like, the apartment is messy. And I was like, okay. And I saw the box that this thing came in. I was like, okay, I'll like keep it in my pants. I'll try to keep it together and not freak out when I walk in the door. As soon as I walked in the door, there are these ginormous boxes and styrofoam like everywhere. And when you live in one of these tiny apartments, like a box, it's
the apartment.
It's the apartment. It becomes part of the furniture. And I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. And I stood there in my work clothes off of a plane, putting styrofoam and cardboard because he couldn't do it. And took me 30 minutes. And there's still boxes here. But it made me feel a lot better inside. And that's when I knew that I was neurodivergent.
Oh, there we go. Well, with that, should we get into some? Oh no!
Wait!
Wait! You're so loud.
What do you mean?
What
about our biggest? Sorry, but how are we not going to talk about our biggest? What happened this week?
We're going to the Super Bowl, and we're very excited.
Go Birds! The Birds are going to the bowl. We're so hype about it.
Good.
I know your fiance. Like how I just said that.
Yeah.
Sends me specific memes about Philadelphia only, but he would appreciate that.
He would. I thought
Yeah, we're
I
going.
started doing that.
I know. Me too.
I know. We've been wearing this. People from Philly, maybe all sports fans or Italians will understand this, but we have been wearing the exact same outfit for every single game.
Oh, good.
Same jacket, same
Good.
pants, same shoes, same routine, same thing to eat in the morning, same thing to eat for lunch. So, like, it has been, we're just repeating, rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat, and it's been working. So now, like, I feel bad. Like, one of our friends is having this huge, they have a huge Super Bowl party every year. We were like, great, we're finally going to get to go. Cause the last like 3 years we've gone home to Philly thinking we're going to win the Super Bowl, go to the Super Bowl or whatever. Haven't done it. This year we're like, okay, now we can't go to our party anyway, because we have to go to the repping North Star. We have to go to the bar. We have to be with the same people. It just, we can't. This is not the game.
Fudge it up. No,
yeah,
it's not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems it's like a little psychotic, but I'm like so into it. Like,
it was so funny.
It's just fun.
Oh, well, Dax was talking about it on his podcast, doing similar.
Like oh.
Well, that's why he said, he's like, I feel like I made the Detroit Lions lose because I went to a game.
Yeah, he probably did.
No, I feel bad. See, and I didn't want to watch because I'm not a watcher. I'm a bandwagon fan through and through, and I know it.
Yeah.
And I will wear the gear always. I will hype everyone up. I'm going to be there, but I didn't think that I should be watching the game. So I was like watching with one eye open on the other side of the couch because I was so afraid. Like, I do believe that if I'm going to watch a game,
my grandma's like that. She like didn't watch after. I remember when the Phillies won the World Series.
Oh God, what a
year. She didn't like watch some of those games. So then she like couldn't watch the Phillies after that for a little bit. Like, there was like a good hiatus. She was like, I'm the problem. I was like, I love this.
Yeah. And I'm going to be in Florida next weekend. And I said, like, you know, there's a million Philly bars in Florida, but it's going to be weird.
It's going to be weird.
Yeah. Anywho.
All right. Well,
now should we chat? Bravo. Yeah. I mean, anything else new? No. Do you want to know what I do want to do just really quickly? I don't ever talk about my job because
it's so weird. I was just about to say something about work related.
Oh.
Weird. Keep going.
About me work or you work?
No, like just in general. I guess I was going to say, like, I think after listening to, it was that episode of Giggly Squad when she talks about the breakup, and then she talks about like a kind of like just pressure, whether it become like about kids or job or this or that at a certain time in life. And it's kind of like where I'm at now. But it's like, I feel like my algorithm is certainly feeding me like people who are also feeling a little lost right now and like not lost, but trying to like,
you're just figuring it out.
Figuring out like, okay, what is next? So what does that look like?
Yeah.
And then I feel like the more I talk to women my age, it seems like a lot of us are in this like boat of, okay, this isn't it. Now my anxiety's gotten me to this point where now I have to totally shift gears. What does that look like? And I wonder if this has always been a thing or, you know?
I mean, I know that we're not a huge
right now.
Yeah. And I also know that we're not a huge life age difference, but I always feel like you go through the things that I went through 5 years ago, 6
100%.
years ago. Like, I remember your 25th midlife crisis, and I was like, girl, I was in a McDonald's parking lot with cigs crying. Like, I get it. And you're 35 now, and like when I think about where I was at 35, I think there's also like there's this natural pressure as women that we don't even know. Even if you don't want kids, there's this geriatric conversations that are happening at your gynecologist, even if that's not the life you're living, there's just this pressure to be in a certain place in your life. And now at 41, 42 next month. I listened to this woman. Actually, they're a really good Instagram follow, Mandy Patinkin and his wife. And his son was their son was saying, like, what do you wish you would have told yourself at this age, at that age? And he asked his mom, what would you wish you would have asked, or what do you wish you would have told yourself at 45? And she said, I wish I would have told myself that I'm so young and that I have my whole life ahead of me. And for me, because you know that I'm in this like in between point of like career, acting, what am I going to do next? Am I going to stay in this career job that I have that's like this big job that it's so hard because that's not what I feel like I was put on this earth for, like not to get, to whatever, but it's, you're always gonna, I think there's always, that's just like what life is.
Yeah.
And the thing I would say to you, not that this is an Amy advice podcast.
No, I'm into it.
But it's just more like, don't put the pressure on yourself. You're going to figure it out and it'll be one step at a time and it'll be clunky. Like if I think about where I was 6 years ago, would have never imagined the path that I've gone to where I am now.
That's good. Even when I find myself in the spiral, like deep in it, there's still, I feel so like lucky because I imagine some people don't have this other part of like the brain chiming in. Like I do have the other voice saying, you got this. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
You have work ethic. You have like the things, what you want to do. You just gotta
figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm
like you're always going to figure it out. You're not the type of person that's going to like sit back and let life happen.
Totally. And I am already I'm already doing
exactly.
What I need to do.
Do you know what somebody else said to me that
it is so
chaotic?
It's not great. It's not great.
Somebody gave me this tiny piece of advice and it seems so silly, but like I've found myself walking around the house saying it brick by brick, where like you're building something, even if you look where you were 6 months ago, like where you're building the foundation brick by brick. And even if it's just happening one brick at a time, like,
yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
Ready?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it could be kind of a good segue into Bravo because I will say about these women, I know that a lot of them come from wealth and all this, but we do, and I've said this on this podcast before, but we do see these women go through shit, like really shitty stuff and come out the other side. And I always like seeing that. Like you look at like an Erika Jayne, for example, and it's like,
look at her giving advice on divorce. And I was like, oh, remember this? Okay.
She was in the throes of it, tabloids everywhere. Like, and she came out Phoenix Rising.
I mean, she's, I love Erika Jayne. Speaking of, she just got an extended run on Chicago.
I thought I saw that.
Maybe we could do that when you're here in May.
Oh, is it going to be in May?
I don't know. I have to see. That is kind of far out. It probably isn't that far out. I can't imagine. But we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. All right, where do we want to get started? Do you want to start at RHONY reunion?
I feel like we must, right?
Okay. Yeah, I just watched it too.
Yeah. Me too. I watched it last night and okay, so you put on their best dress and I could not agree more. Like I watched Salt Lake City reunion 1 and then RHONY back to back. And it's literally like Salt Lake City's playing dress up and RHONY is just, I mean,
these are New York women. These are New York.
Whose was your favorite outfit?
Honestly, I loved them all, including the robe. I think I did love Aaron. I always love what Aaron's wearing. But I guess maybe Raquel. I also always love Raquel's makeup. I don't know if you've ever noticed, like she always has this pink and highlight right here. And I love her. So I guess I don't know. They were all really great though.
Yeah. I loved Jessel's. To me, Jessel is like fashion icon. Okay. Even though she's a wackadoo, and a little bit of a goofball, I just feel like her style is so good. So good. They all were. And Sai, I mean, Sai has always been one of my favorite style wise. They brought their A game. My least favorite, and it has nothing to do with the person, was Brynn's. I felt like it was black and gold, and then whatever Brynn was doing was the theme.
It felt a little like from the Victorian ages. Yeah,
she said Zsa Zsa Gabor, which like fine, but I didn't know. Like, I just want to know what the theme was. This like old little lady that was. I'll send you a picture of Zsa Zsa Gabor. She was like this very like like think Elizabeth Taylory, but kind of tacky with feathers and crystals.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good explanation, but
well, see. All right. Well, let's get in. We start. Okay. First of all, the opening scene being.
Wait, we have to talk about these rumors that we're talking about. So there are a lot of rumors going around in the mill, and I'm almost like weary to even talk about them because they're so unspecific. But there's been this rumor on the rumor mill in the Bravo world that there's going to be this big revelation that we're going to find out about Brynn, that it's going to be devastating. It's going to be unlike anything we've ever heard, but we're not getting specifics.
No, and it's not. No one is saying Brynn. They said the housewife had a flop season. So to me, that means either Brynn or Rebecca Minkoff. And so it could be something around the Scientology of it all. I have no idea. The rumors are so vague. And then there's one. So on Reddit, someone posted.
Do you want me to say what you sent me? Read what you sent me?
Yeah. So, well, hold on. Let me just. So basically, someone took something from Instagram. And people were like making guesses in the comment section of this Instagram post. And then the original poster of the Instagram said, it's in the comments. Someone has said it. But so now Redditors are like kind of going through trying to figure out, okay, which ones sort of match up. Like, because I think the original poster of the Instagram said that it had been said 3 times. And so the investigators were going through trying to find 3 of the same.
I love Reddit.
I know it's wild. But it really is.
They're crazy.
Crazy.
I literally sent you a text and said, I'm about to get on an airplane. Can you do your thing?
Yeah.
And you're on it.
So then that obviously got taken over to the RHONY Reddit thread. And so then people are guessing there. But I am so shocked. As of yesterday, I didn't check today yet. No one had really figured it out, which is so unlike Redditors.
I know. Yeah.
And so that's making me feel even more suspicious about it because it's like, of all the things that we've been able to find out and it's in the actual comments, but this we can't figure out. And then I didn't see anything on Bravo and Cocktails.
I was just going to say, if Bravo and Cocktails, if our girl is not on it, I'm always weary.
Or is it does it have no like real kind of like gumption behind it that she's unwilling to post about it? I think the other thing that's really throwing me is that they're saying it's going to be one of the worst scandals in Bravo history and it's going to be expensive. And so I'm like, but we've had Teresa with fraud, we've had the Jen Shaw of it, we've had Scandival, we just
Monica,
like there's been all of these things. So I can't imagine like what's so big. What we can talk about is, I guess, like I even again feel a little bit like, do we even talk about it? Because some of the allegations that or the guesses, I should say, that they're making are really dark.
Yeah.
And
that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Do have to do with, I guess the biggest one I'm seeing, or I guess the 2 biggest
allegedly
are, and also let me just say, one of these I don't think is that scandalous at all. But one is that she's an escort, which I'm like, how fun would it be to have a high-end escort in New York City? Well, let's go. Let's cast her.
Well, to that point, when Sai said last night on the reunion, when she said, "What do you do?" And Brynn supposedly doesn't talk about her business. Like, was that Sai trying to make a dig at something? I thought like Brynn just didn't talk about her work because it was like a big job that she's not allowed to and probably had to like sign an NDA for her work. That's what I always thought.
But even if she did have, okay, so I don't know that was necessarily like a direct dig about that rumor.
Yeah.
Like it really implying that. I will say Brynn's response is weird because even if she did sign an NDA, that might be with that specific company. Like, do not say the company name, but like she can't say I'm in tech or like, why couldn't she just respond in that moment? I'm a marketing consultant for a tech company. Like, I know that had sort of been,
but that's what I thought she did say last year.
Yeah, and I think she even said it when she was there was like a lunch she was at with, I think it was maybe Aaron and Jessel, and they were having, it was like a day lunch. It was like maybe one of the first or second episodes of
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
But I just don't understand why not just, if you have all this heat coming at you and like someone is putting you in that position, why not just say that? Like, her response
was so stupid,
so strange and weird to me.
So strange.
I didn't understand the silence. Like, you being silent about it is making it
more suspicious.
And it's like, we can run like someone, on the other side, let's say you're like Team Brynn, could be like, that's her prerogative to not say anything. It's not, though, because she's on a reality TV show. So let's not play this game of like, they get to protect everything. All the housewives that have come before them have not had that opportunity. I would say that these New York women are more protected than any other cast on Bravo.
Which is actually insane, because if anything, they have more to prove, being the newbies.
Exactly. But they have been the newbies. I don't know if it was hard to get. This is my like theory. I don't know if it was maybe hard to get women
cast to agree to all this.
And I know that there was a lot of discourse online before, when they were doing the casting, and it was a lot of people saying, we don't want just a bunch of influencers, we don't want just a bunch of podcasters. So if you're taking all of the influencers and podcasters out of the equation and now you're left with real New York businesswomen, we'll call them, like, who are willing to show all of their cards, you're not going to find it. Like, you're just not. They probably
can't.
Some negotiation. Like, great, we're going to show this, but we won't show this. Like, this is where you can have boundaries. And I think that this cast has more boundaries than any Bravo cast has ever had in the history of Bravo.
Yeah. Well, what did you think? So last night, rumors aside, last night was interesting for Brynn, and Brynn saying that everybody was coming for her for the past 5 months to Sai and Erin. Did you see that part?
Yeah.
That threw me, because Sai, I felt Brynn obviously was on the defensive, but she also was playing this victim role. And to me, she isn't taking any accountability for any part that she's done this entire season. She's not taking accountability for playing telephone. She's not taking accountability for hurting people with her words. And she immediately went to Erin and Sai, like, you two have been hurting me all season. You two have been the ones that have been coming at me. It was such a weird take on the whole thing, that she's giving that, like, I can't take the accountability on things. Her sharing her story was obviously gut-wrenching. I was surprised to see the way Uba reacted. I almost thought Uba was going to be a little cold about it, and I'm glad that she had empathy. And I think that goes to show, too, this situation the women are in, because I think they all have empathy for Brynn, and I think they all care about her a lot. But there's this part of me that's also like, I know a Brynn, and you have to keep them at a distance and at a boundary, or otherwise we've seen kind of the damage that she's done.
Yeah. So speaking of Brynn, so before they're even on stage, she's talking to Jessel. And she says, like, everything's fine, right?
Oh my God.
There were two moments that really stuck out to me about Brynn that they were so small in the scheme of, it was that, like, her totally just like
oblivious.
Yeah. And the other one was when she turns to Andy and said, this is like in between, and says, this is a $7,000 dress and I'm not returning it. To me, in those two moments, I said, oh my God, this is a small child. Like,
yeah, but
I kind of like, in so many ways, I'm like sad for her.
Exactly.
And the fact that she can't see how, as Jenna is talking to her so calmly, I would say, like, I think this was towards the end.
At the very end, yep.
Saying, like, you have to see that you embellish stories. Like, there's a bit of truth, and then you, like, make it something else. And then but not only are you embellishing, but the intent that you have in retelling the story isn't just to retell the story.
No,
and,
it's malicious.
Gossip, because gossip is not always malicious. Like we all gossip, and it doesn't always have to be so negative. But her intention in doing all of that gossiping is where the problem lies.
But see, I think she might, like, when thinking about Brynn, to your point, like, I think when she's gossiping, she's trying to build connections, because I think she's almost missing that in her life in general. And so that's her way to then build connections with the women, and thinking that will, and then she like does the cute, oh, let me laugh it off. And this is so funny. And this wasn't an important dig that I said to you. I mean, she said a quote last night that I literally wrote down, because I don't need to elaborate. I don't need to be creative and elaborate on stories.
But that's all she does.
That's all she does. And if you don't need to, and then there's literally an entire reel of you going back and elaborating and making your stories creative. I think she's using it to try to find a connection with the women, but what she's really doing is just creating these incredibly toxic relationships. And to your point, when she said to Jessel, like, oh, everything's fine today, right? And Jessel was just like, she's that type of person that wants to brush everything under the rug. I think she's the opposite of self-aware. It's like she doesn't know how to read the room. And because I said I feel like I know someone just like her, the empathy, it's easier for me to find empathy, but harder. Like, I'm not sticking up for her, though. I might have empathy for her, but that doesn't let her off the hook.
Yeah, I feel like the brushing things under the rug definitely comes from just like her own childhood trauma. And she probably has done so much of brushing terrible shit that
survival
has happened to her. Yeah,
for
under
sure.
the rug.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I was able to brush under the rug this sexual assault, or the fact that my diapers weren't getting changed, and the fact that like,
it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. And it's like, why can't they brush? It's like, I think that these things feel, this little gossip and is like malintentioned gossip feels so small minuscule in comparison to what the big shit that she's brushed under the rug, that she's sort of like, I don't know what the problem is. And it's just, not everyone has that same trauma that you have, thank God. And so it's like, you can't live your life and operate that way and expect other people to really respond. I think these women have done a really good job, though. It's still showing empathy while kind of doing exactly what you're doing, while not excusing the behavior. And
I think they're all trying to hold Brynn accountable, but that's not going to happen. Like, Brynn is never going to recognize it, and she's never going to give them what they need, because she's not going to be accountable enough for them to maintain friendships. And people that we know that are like this, I'm sure there's a personality disorder associated with it. God knows. I should ask my therapist. I love asking my therapist what she thinks about Bravo people. But I'm sure like it will say that, like, I can't imagine she has had long-term friendships. I can't imagine. I bet you she struggles in that area. It's really, really sad. And, we saw so many versions of it. I don't think we have to get into like the comment to Jessel, the comment to Erin, all of these things. I mean, I think the last few weeks, it's kind of made us say, okay, we see kind of where Uba was coming from. I was really surprised to see Jenna go in on her at the end. And Uba even said, Erin, let Jenna talk, because I think Uba knows that maybe the only person that Brynn will hear is Jenna.
I agree 100%. I think her word means just more because she doesn't speak up and out as often as the other women. So when she does, it just naturally carries more weight. Yeah. She's also older than these women, from most of these women, and has, been in the game a long time. Yeah.
This is bad for Brynn. I mean, I don't know if there's coming back from this.
No. I mean, obviously I was shocked that Bravo had allowed that producer to put out a casting call yesterday. I thought that was a little, I don't know. I think it's a little tacky, I guess. Yeah. I don't love, but I think especially like same day as the
but that's
reunion. Totally.
Bravo's messy.
But we don't normally see the casting thing like that during
Did Bravo put it out?
Yeah. Well, that casting director. Yeah.
I
So
didn't
it wasn't
see that
on Bravo, but it
Oh my
was
God.
a casting from a production company that make the production company that does RHONY. We don't typically see that unless it's like we saw it. I know we saw it when they were done with the old RHONY, and then we knew that they were casting.
But see,
you know,
when I say there's no coming back from it, I don't think that Bravo will give up on her. Do you? I think she's good TV for Bravo because she'll just create the mess.
I think maybe a couple years ago, even 2 years ago, I would say they would stick with her. I think given this really hard look that Bravo has, people are looking at Bravo differently, given like, although Leah and Brandy and, all those lawsuits and Bethany's lawsuits didn't necessarily go anywhere, it still made us as the viewers all sort of side eye a little bit. And I think there's been a lot of things, I think, in the last year and a half or so, or really since Scandival broke, that we're side-eyeing Bravo. And I think we have the James Kennedy situation where how much did Bravo know? It's like we're paying a little bit more attention into how messy they're letting these people with like real trauma behave.
Because I don't think, to that point, like I don't think that this is a good thing for Brynn. Like I was looking at her last night. Yeah. I was looking at her last night in that chair thinking I could never do what she's doing. And the fact that she has all this trauma on top of it, this will either, like, maybe it's good that she can compartmentalize because maybe she'll like this attention versus thinking that it's negative. But I mean, for her mental health, I don't know. Her being on a show where 6 other people are coming at her all at once is a good thing, but I guess we'll see. What did you think about Andy's question about Jessel's work that she got done?
It's so interesting. I wrote that on the outline. It's so interesting because I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I didn't love that he was questioning her. Now, it's so hypocritical for me to say that, though, because when we used to go, if we have any OG listeners, I used to get a little upset how
they weren't pushing.
No, not even on Bravo, but how it was. We would talk about the Kardashians back in the day, and how they were never forthcoming about it. And I found that a little frustrating because they had such influence, and they'd be like, yeah, I just like went vegan and I look like, it's like, no, bitch, no, you don't. Like you have a personal chef, you have all of this stuff, you do lasers, you probably spend upwards of $1 million a year on your appearance and are kind of tricking your fans into thinking like it's just hard work. No one wants to work anymore. And that's just like not true. And
can't believe what's happened to you and the Kardashians. It blows my mind.
I just can't with them. And except for Kylie. I fuck with Kylie. Yeah. But so and then with Jessel, I don't know. There's something about him asking the Housewives that feels a little different. I don't know if it's that I don't like the Kardashians anymore. Like, is it, like I feel like a total hypocrite saying that, but that's just.
I think the way that he asked too was very accusatory.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Like, to me, the way that he asked her was like, oh, you have a different face this season. It also felt what have you done?
Like irrelevant a little bit. Like it had nothing.
There were bigger fish to fry.
And not only that, but it had never come up during season.
Right. That's so true.
So it wasn't like there was no reason to be bringing this up. Like you're asking New York women if they had work done. The answer is a resounding yes. Same. I mean, I have Botox next week. Like it felt really.
Don't tempt me with a good time. I'm sitting here staring at my lips like, oh, should I get this other one?
I just felt like he had no tact in doing that. That was weird.
That's Andy,
I know. I don't like Andy, but
I know. I was thinking about that. Should we? I think we're gonna see more. I think there'll be some announcements from New York. They're gonna be casting new people. I'm interested to see on how it comes back and what it looks like.
Yeah.
I feel like there wasn't a ton on Beverly Hills other than Sutton's awkward ass delivery of like I'm really liking Dorit this season, and usually they'll like clip together a million clips to say how much Dorit's talking and how she just keeps talking and she doesn't read the room. And it seemed like this conversation where she comes into Kyle's house to talk about how her son Jagger had asked if she was getting a divorce from PK was not one of those moments where people, like everybody seemed, including Kyle, very engaged in this conversation and were trying to give her comfort and be there for her as friends. And then Sutton, so awkward, like she's so socially awkward, comes out and says, I just want to make sure that we're having a light conversation today. Like, this woman is going through a divorce. Her child, for the first time, confronts her about the relationship with his parents. And you, Sutton, should know from your own experience in your own divorce what that's like. And instead you interrupt her and say, we got to go eat your toast and be on your merry way. It was so bizarre.
So bizarre in some way. So like going back to when she's having that conversation with Kyle at that dinner or whatever, in some ways it's like, I feel like I agree with the point that sometimes Sutton's trying to get across, but the way that she does it is so it gets lost. Like, she didn't even actually really get it out at that dinner. What she's trying to say to Kyle is, you have a different set of rules, and what we would like an apology for is that you are not abiding by the same set of rules that you set for us.
Right.
Instead, I don't know.
That was not clear.
That was not clear.
That was not clear.
I was able to like get that's what probably because I feel that so deeply that Kyle certainly and the editors rolled tape on Kyle for probably the first time in all her seasons that she got a roll tape of her basically being a hypocrite and saying it's out there, so now we have to talk about it. And I think that Sutton's just her really crass delivery loses the message so quick that it just never hits. It just never even hits. And she did the same thing with Dorit. And it's like, okay, you can want to get the show on the road, but you have to understand that this is not the moment. And also to like hide behind Garcelle saying, she's like said something like, speaking of best friends, she said it wants to be a positive. Don't hide behind Garcelle. You're the problem, because I think if Garcelle was in this moment with these women,
she would have been in the moment.
Would have been in the 100%. Moment, would have given it the time and space that it needed. And then they could have gone. Yeah. What would it have been? Another 15 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that like the Garcelle and Sutton friendship always throws me off.
Got it.
Always throws me off, especially when Sutton does things like this, because Garcelle would never.
I know.
And then when they go to Garcelle's house, I mean, beautiful, beautiful. Again, another awkward. Well, I actually liked that they showed the Kyle and Dorit conversation. I feel like we're finally in a place where they can kind of move forward. I hope we never hear about this text message again.
100% do not want to hear about this text message. I think it went too far as is. That should have been the end of one episode into the beginning of the next. Done.
It's like 4 episodes now. I want more Jennifer Tilly, to be honest.
Same.
She's amazing. And hopefully we'll get more of that. We got the mid-season trailer too. They're fine.
There's something in the mid-season trailer. I will say Erika's read on Sutton. She says, let me see if I can remember. But she basically says like, you play as a friend, but act as an enemy. She says something like that. That's not a direct quote, but I was like, that is so true. Like Sutton wants to show up and act like all high and mighty, I got your back. But then her way in doing so is so filled with like hate almost and judgment that now you're just my enemy.
And that's exactly how she showed up to that dinner. I mean, maybe she had her guard up because she thought Kyle was coming there to have this like little conference. But I am a Kyle apologist, but I do think Kyle had some motive, but I don't know if it's as deep as like, I feel like,
I don't think it was an alliance.
No. And I think like Sutton, Sutton's like, no one's pulling the wool over my eyes. We're not going to get like this little crotchety old lady that's just like, you're not going to get me, sir. Like, it's okay, Sutton. Take a Xanax. It'll be fine.
This is what happens, I feel like, with some of the housewives. Not all, but over time, they grow really paranoid.
Oh, well, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but I think it can lose the audience a little bit when they get that paranoid. Like, when she said that it's for an alliance, I said, oh girl, this is not for an alliance. I think she's like, where are you going to war? Like, this is not an alliance.
This is not traitors, which we have to get into at another point.
I know. It does. It sometimes, Housewives is literally a game of traitors.
That's what she's making it.
Especially Salt Lake City, but that's
well, I mean, speaking of Salt Lake City, the reunion part 1 was sometime. I think so. There wasn't like a ton that happened in Beverly Hills.
I guess we could just end it with, I'm glad that Kyle and Dorit can move on. That we're all moving on.
I honestly am happy. I'm excited to see this conversation with Kyle and Mauricio. I know that's not what everybody wants, but I'm looking forward to seeing that from the mid-season trailer. Salt Lake City.
So we have to talk about last week, obviously, because we recorded on Wednesday. It came on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
So
the part 1 of the reunion?
Yeah, part 1 of the reunion.
So part 1 of the reunion, the thing that really, what my biggest takeaway is that Lisa Barlow is very similar. We have a Lisa Barlow on every Housewives. It's the Teresa, it's the Brynn, it's
the Lala.
It's the I don't want anything bad done to me. And I also, when I do bad to you, will never take accountability for it. I will point the finger and say how it is not my problem. What she did to Bronwyn, and I don't even fuck with Bronwyn that much. I think she came onto the show for all the wrong reasons and has all the motive in the world to try to make this her lifestyle and be something apart from her husband. But that's just me.
A good read.
But what she did to Lisa about their elite, like what Lisa did to Bronwyn by trying to have Bronwyn out her child's father and also introduce them to the grandparents they never met, and all of the, like, Lisa put her nose in business that she shouldn't, she had no business being. And I just think then Lisa crying about it when Bronwyn starts to cry about how Lisa hurt her is just, it really blew me away. Baby Gorgeous is
wild. This feels like a really good time to take back everything nice I've said about Lisa Barlow. And as we've said several times, we are allowed to flip-flop on this show. I've always been shocked that I've even liked her. I think she was just,
me too.
I think it was just that she was so housewifey that like, where else would she be?
It's true. We had Dana from I Bravo very seriously called Salt Lake City campy, and ever since she said that, I can't not think of that. Like, we've called it like it would be like a parody version,
like an SNL skit of
exactly. And this last night, like every time I watch it, that's all I could think. They come in with their crazy outfits thinking that they're just looking the best, and then we get these wild anyway, go ahead.
I guess my big takeaway from this was 100%, and I agree with everything you said about Lisa. She really just should have taken the L here and just like been like, you know what, that was fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. I should not have brought, pulled, like, I shouldn't have gotten myself involved in that in any capacity, and I apologize for that. I will say, I watched this episode, the reunion, with a friend, and the one thing that we really took away, and I was like, even if you don't fuck with Brynn, she does get her point across really eloquently.
Bronwyn,
I mean. And I was like, I wonder what it is. And we literally said, oh, she's just not yelling. She's just not yelling. That's all it is. She's not screaming her point.
Speaking calmly. She was speaking calmly.
Her point. And I was like, wow, it's really wild what the difference is between a bunch of like cackling hags,
right,
versus shout out Jessel, to this, like to Bronwyn, who just speaks what she needs to say and doesn't like gets like all barky about it.
It was interesting.
It makes a really big difference. I think Housewives should be taking notes.
And I think
Not
also
all,
not all.
No. Some yellers.
Yeah, but I do think that kind of threw Lisa too. It like
100%.
threw her because she didn't know how to react because Bronwyn wasn't coming for her jugular. She was just saying her feelings, and I think that's why Lisa started crying.
I think so
not
too.
Because she felt bad, but because she was like
she got got.
And she was like, I fucked up. And there's no way. This is not my fault. This is not my fault. This is not my fault. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. That she's a wild, wild woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, me and you have had this conversation many times throughout the season. Angie seems to think that she's the big boss because she earned that center snowflake. And I haven't spoken to one other person who's interested in Bravo that thinks that Angie deserves that center snowflake. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't even know how she got that center snowflake. I would think maybe second to end, maybe the end. Like I don't know that she's put in the time or the like. No. Yeah, like people love Angie. I really have to reiterate here, like I'm not one of these Salt Lake City fangirls. Like I really have thought about this more than probably anyone should. It's because I don't like any of them individually. Whereas for all the other cast, there's always someone I like. Like there's always someone that I find redeeming and I can see like I find, you know, I relate
good qualities in,
good qualities in, or I like
good fashion.
Even like Kyle, like I love seeing Kyle mother. Like I think I like seeing her in that setting for sure. We have there's always someone I like. I do not like one single person on this cast. Not only do I not like them, I kind of dislike them. It's not even like I'm indifferent. Like I don't like these women. I don't like Salt Lake City as a backdrop. I think all of their homes are sterile. I don't like how they all look. I think that they're always playing investigator. I don't like it. I just don't like this franchise. Sue me.
Sue me. Don't sue me. To that point, I like Heather. And I know you think that's crazy. I still like Heather. And I think center snowflake, my Delulu will... I've always liked her. I think she's messy in the perfect amount of ways, and she will always be iconic.
Now I'm like, oh, like why? How?
I think center snowflake should have went to Mary 1,000%. For the first time ever, Mary showed up to work this season. She should have got that center snowflake without a doubt.
If we're putting it on like who's doing the most work on this show, hate her or not, it's Lisa. Lisa is the one that carries the show. Every
that's true.
Every storyline is around her. She should always have that seat next to Andy. She should always have the center flake if that's what it's about. No, like Mary brought a ton of comic relief and she gave us a really heart-wrenching story about her son. I don't know if that's center snowflake worthy. Like I really think if it's about who carries the season, it will always be Lisa because Lisa was born to be a housewife.
It's so funny. Like, did you ever think our lives would turn into this? Talking about center snowflake. Every time you say center snowflake with like this dead serious face, I cannot stop laughing. I'm like, what has happened to me? What has happened to our life? Lucky us. Yeah. Should we move down south? Let's go to south. Let's go. So the biggest thing that's happening in Charleston right now, and I think we can like
are we doing Southern Charm or Southern Hospitality or
Southern Charm? Well, Paige unfollowed Craig. Craig unfollowed Paige. There's a lot. On Raya, baby. He's back on Raya. We posted that on our stories. Mm-hmm. Paige, there's been a lot of rumors about Paige. And her timelines and her ex-fiance of the guy she's seeing that they were together on New Year's. And people are having this sob story about Craig. I don't feel bad for Craig, but there's something that's giving me a little bit of the ick for Paige. And I said it last week, and I'm sorry to say it again. I'm feeling turned off by her, but it has nothing to do with her timeline. It has nothing to do with that. It's almost like, oh God, I can't even, I'm going to say this.
Say it.
It's almost like this arrogance.
Okay, I can see that.
Too big for her britches.
What
and
did our friends say? Flying too close to the sun.
Flying too close to the sun. And it's almost hitting me. I also really love this one, and I'll shout them out, but there's this one Instagram account that goes through all of our favorite Bravo Lebs, and she does it by cast and goes and figures out their political affiliations. And I just thought it was interesting because she went on to say how some of the gigglers have come to say that Paige and Hannah aren't doing enough with their podcast and their platform to talk about what is going on in the world.
Oh, I totally disagree with that. I don't think that's a responsibility.
Okay.
That whole thing is about giggling. And you know what's not giggly? Politics. I would say it's the least giggly of the things.
But I do think there is a certain responsibility if you have that many young women who look up to you to...
They talk about the patriarchy all the time and like women's rights and women's stuff. Like the whole podcast is that like, fuck the patriarchy. Fuck
yeah, but that doesn't mean
say
that...
like, yeah, but it's kind of implied.
I think we would be surprised.
I don't know. I just don't think that's responsible. But anyway, let's get back to the show.
Get back. You have thoughts?
I think it's, to me, everything that's coming out about Paige and Craig, it's just showing me like he was definitely blindsided. I think that there were things probably throughout the relationship that for sure made him wonder. I think maybe it could.
What do you mean made him wonder?
Like even in the most recent episode when he's talking to Shep outside and he's like, it can get confusing. One day she's like, let's go build a barn on a farm and I'm moving down there. And then she has a good day in New York and she's like, I love it here. I can't leave. Like, yeah, that is confusing. And he even says in his confessional, if I like, fine, waiting 4 years, not a big deal. But what happens when 4 years comes up and it's like another 10? Then I'm in my 50s having a kid and like, that's fair for him to also, have questions about that.
Yeah.
I do think having spent, like from what we saw Thanksgiving together and then like, I don't know that anyone's expecting a breakup. I don't think anyone's expecting a breakup right in that holiday time. It's always like, let's wait out the holiday. Let's see how the holidays go, like for everything. Everyone's not getting back to emails even. Like you can't respond to an email during that time period. But for a whole-on breakup to happen, that's like heavy because now you're facing the family right before, which I guess in some ways I understand where Paige is coming from because it's like, oh, is she going to show up to his family's house and just like, hi, play nice. No, this is what I break up with him in 2 weeks.
And you know what I think? I think we got the announcement after, I think it happened right after Thanksgiving.
I think it happened literally like at Thanksgiving.
Because she was on the tour all before that, and I think that's when she made the decision, was when she was away, and maybe that's when these text messages were happening that people are alleging. Mm-hmm. And I think she got a little bit of that freedom or courage to make her next move. And then probably he just had to like play nice before they made the announcement when he was on with Andy and do all of that.
That sucks.
Sucks.
The other thing too is like, look, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but we've all been through breakups, and let's be real. They're easier when you have someone waiting in the wing. They just are. Like, even if you're already thinking it, you're feeling it, and then you get hit up from that one person or a person, and it's like, oh, this is fun. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm willing to totally trash everything I have to move forward.
But that also means that if you're willing, then you already had
it just makes it a
100%.
little easier.
Sure
like,
does.
I'm going to have someone to fill that time. It might not be my forever person, but
Right.
someone will be filling my time and space before,
Yeah.
in the in-between when I'm kind of in the throes of it.
Oh God, I'm thinking of my in-between person and it was so lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
what are we talking about? I got carried away in my thoughts.
We got really into.
Oh, you wrote on here, Molly's such a great addition. I don't know if you saw that I radically reached out to her to see if she would do our podcast.
No,
hopefully she'll say yes.
She is
Molly, if you're listening, we love you and your Trump.
Someone compared her to Jennifer Lawrence on
Reddit, I
Reddit,
could see that.
and now I can't unsee it.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. I really like her. And
I
her
really
little
like her too. Her story about the band like made me cry. I didn't do like full tears, but I definitely teared up. I was like, this is really cute.
Really?
And the other thing, I thought her story was just fascinating, especially like how the modeling sort of took off, and then she had the weight stuff and how it just sort of fell off, but then she was able to come back to the music.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Don't you think it's insane the way that she talks about her weight? I'm like, you are such a smoke bomb.
I know.
Like, you have great tits,
I guess
perfect ass, and like
in modeling for that long, your whole that's
life,
a decade of just being compared to other women.
Oh God.
Like that.
It just kills me because you hear like all of her like self-deprecating jokes and you're like, God, you're so hot.
I know. You know what's interesting about this? And I wrote on that line, I think Shep is interested in her in a way that is almost not sexual though. I feel like he's fascinated by her. Like, who is this girl? Like
oh, that's interesting.
I think it's something that could turn into maybe sexual, but I find the way he's like, oh, you're in the mute, like you're in the band. Like, I think he's like genuinely interested in what she's up to.
But you want to know? No.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because this is what I think too. He's not used to dating girls his own age. And she's 35, 36, and he's like early 40s. It's so interesting you said 30s? That.
I think he's almost 50.
Mid-50. Okay. When he said that about when he was like genuinely taking interest in her, there was this part of me that was like, we don't see this side of Shep. And is he looking at her like in a way that he doesn't even realize he's looking at her like wife material? Because he's not used to dating his own age and he's not used to.
44, by the way. I don't know. I just watch him with her when you're watching.
No, I was so interested in it because to your point, like it's almost like he's looking at her in a way he doesn't look at other girls. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, I wonder if there's like a marriage thing there because he's not used to talking to women that can challenge him.
Like substance. Yeah.
No offense, Taylor and Bahama Girl.
I commented on something on Instagram and I really am I would love Bravo to chime in on the casting decision to keep her on Southern Charm. I really like, she's friends with everyone in hospitality. It's like, it's not like there's no, if you really wanted to keep her, it's not like there's no platform. There's an entire show that are her best friends.
Yeah.
You said, you know what? No. And it's not even like the drama that she's part of is, I would say for the most part, none of us, I can't speak for the entire audience, but I don't know that we care about the Sally.
No. Taylor. I like Sally though. No.
Sally's bringing some stuff. I mean,
her hot boyfriend.
JT, the way that JT was coming at Sally at the end, the thing that's so strange to me about JT and the way he's like interrogating her, you know what I'm talking about at the end after they're like back at that house?
He's so corny.
He tries to play it like, oh, because I care. But I'm like, bro, I don't even think these people know you. Like, aren't you kind of
did you read why he was bringing this up? There's like apparently there's a stalker.
I know. I linked it in our. Did you see it linked in?
Oh, look at that.
It's linked in the.
Okay, so just quickly.
Yeah.
Basically, the reason everyone was shutting JT down is because basically JT has started hooking up with this girl who's trying so hard to get close to the show, and a lot of people are calling her a stalker. And
so it's the girl he's hooking up with.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
realize that. Okay.
And or was at that time. And so she's been putting out these stories because she's really, really, really trying to get on the show, trying to get close to the show. And everyone, like certain people have orders against her, like protective orders, because that's how hard she's trying to get involved. And so he was bringing up that information on camera. And it's like, we're not listening to what this chick's saying. So he's trying to really stay relevant in this world. And people are continuing to shut him down. I do think that he did not call Patricia the B word, though.
No,
We
I
already
don't think that'd be
established it.
that. We already established that. And I guess from what I saw on Reddit, not only is this girl like, I guess some of the cast members actually have restraining orders out.
Yeah, protective orders. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Southern Charms giving.
Leave it to JT to be the one to take the bait.
His like Napoleon complex is showing. It's driving me crazy.
I know he looks also like, I don't want to comment too much on his looks, but he looks a little scary in those interviews. Like,
oh yeah, I think well,
a turtle or something.
A turtle. Should we do Southern Hospitality quick, just in interest of time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh God, well I think we could just do the main thing, which is Emmy. So me and you had an astonishing find.
Yeah.
We have a big beef.
Yeah.
So Emmy, if you look in Emmy's bio, to all our Philly girls out there listening, you will understand. Emmy claims Philly in her bio on Instagram, Charleston and Philly. And I would love to say Jenna and I, however, Jenna did some digging and found out the girl is from Radnor, PA, which just so happens to be like a very big main line, which if you know the main line, it's a very affluent suburb of Philadelphia that you are not from Philly.
Yeah, this girl's never taken SEPTA a day in her life.
She does not know the L. She does not know the stops on the L. If she goes down to the link, she's got the box seat. She's not standing out there tailgating with the rest of them.
She has to wait for the Gerard Street trolley for 20 minutes to let it go right by you, and you say, "It's fine. I'll wait for the next one." Texting your work,
Jenna's
sorry, I'm going to be late.
Jenna's bringing up her own trauma.
Yeah, my own trauma with SEPTA. I've tweeted at them twice. It got caught on fire. Anyway. Anyway,
so Emmy was claiming that, and we have an issue with that.
We have such an issue with that, especially because
I think that's our biggest beef of the week.
It's one thing to like go to a main, like whatever, grow up in a suburb of Philly, fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then if you go to like Temple or Drexel or Penn, and then you live there for a little bit, like if you want to claim Philly, sure. Like
I disagree, but that's okay.
But let's say we're given grace here.
Benefit of the doubt.
But that's not how it goes. She goes from Radnor to the College of Charleston and stays in Charleston. There was no time in Philly. She wasn't hanging out. She wasn't like, no, we're not down for it. And for you to be out here claiming Philly in your bio.
And especially crying with those huge.
Rock, clip this because I want to see this.
And then to be the tears streaming down her face, looking like, I mean, look, Philly chicks are insane, but we run differently. We would not be doing what she's doing.
We also wouldn't be. I mean, I don't want to speak for all Philly girls, but I don't know that we're 25 years old begging for a baby and a marriage. Like
that's the part that threw me.
Yeah, she's
because
like a Southern chick.
Exactly. And not that we love Southern chicks, but it's a different mentality. Yeah. Okay. Emmy aside,
not the norm for us.
Not sure the heck ain't. Not anyone.
Look at us.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how this conversation with Joe Bradley and TJ is going to go. I think we'll get more of that. I think there's obviously something that happened that Joe allegedly might not be admitting, which is also fine. It's fine all around. We just want to be supportive. And I think Joe is probably ashamed of whatever happened, if something happened allegedly. And
I really don't agree with TJ bringing this to the table. I think TJ, tell your story and be who you are, but when that involves another cast member that is not comfortable, then that's one of your best friends,
like outing him, basically.
You're outing, like that's not chill at
on
all.
TV.
Like, that is not your right to tell his story. Like, if you want to don't use names in your own story. Like, be who you need to be. I just think to bring Joe into it is not, especially because it's so clear to me that Joe is not comfortable with this. And it reminds me so much of someone I knew in high school, or not in high school, in college, that he still to this day doesn't know some of the stuff that we know, and he's getting married to a woman, and that's fine. Like, he was not comfortable, and we all, like, there was a couple of us that knew, and we said, you know what, if he doesn't want to talk about this, he doesn't have to talk about it. Right. Like, that is not on us.
It's more,
we never gossiped about it either. Like, it was so his story and something he clearly wasn't comfortable with, and I see that so much in Joe.
Yeah.
That I feel like I know this situation almost.
But I also feel like it explains to us why Joe is so overcompensating in other ways. Yeah. And why he's trying to keep TJ quiet, and why he's trying to, I feel like he tries to be this guy's guy and this like big bad, like,
tries to be like a Guido almost.
Yeah. And it's like it just feels like he's overcompensating for something. I feel it a lot with James Kennedy too, like similar energies. But I'm interested to see how the conversation goes. Just in interest of time, we should wrap it up. We'll be back, FYI. We're going to be back. We're back to Thursdays. Episode dropping on Thursdays. You can like and subscribe on Instagram and TikTok at Bonded by Bravo Pod, and follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Bonded by Bravo Pod, and listen wherever you listen to podcasts at Bonded by Bravo. We will be having merch coming out. So once we have it up on our website, we'll be sharing that information. So keep an ear out for that. And we will be back next Thursday, friends. See you then.